Hey, busy business people. I am here today with another entrepreneur taking action, Dr. Sabrina Starling. Dr. Sabrina is a business psychologist that helps entrepreneurs take their lives back from their business. And I'm getting the scoop today on how she does it. So stay tuned. Okay. All right, Dr. Sabrina. How do you know that the business coach you're considering hiring can deliver and that they'll be a good fit for you?
So this is such a great question because there's so many coaches out there. And when we go looking for a business coach, it's overwhelming. You don't know who's the right one. And what I have learned over the years is it's so important to know that the coach that you're hiring is going to deliver on their results that they are promising, because I've lost a lot of money over the years hiring coaches that didn't deliver. And so one of the things that I would encourage you is you should always be asking your coach about specific training that they've been through that prepares them to be a professional coach. So the International Coach Federation certifies coaches, and that there's a certain level of training that we have to have. So that guarantees right away that somebody's had that training. Beyond that, though, it's not just about the training. You want to look for a coach who walks their talk. Ask them if they do coaching. Are they currently in coaching? And not everybody's always going to be in coaching, but they should have been in coaching at some point recently, because if you're not in coaching, you're not growing anymore as a coach. And the other thing to check for is results. Verify the results. Are there testimonials on their websites? Do they look legit? I was on another coach's website a couple of weeks ago, and there were 10 testimonials. But as I scrolled, they were repeats. So there were really only 5 testimonials. And so that made me think, I wonder what's going on here. But also look at, are those testimonials really speaking to results that were delivered, or are they speaking to, I really enjoyed talking to Susie. Susie was so nice and caring. And that's great. It's wonderful to have a coach that's nice and caring, but is Susie delivering the results? So really look at the results, and do those results match up with the results that you want to get? And then the other question that I suggest you always pose to a coach is, if I'm not succeeding in getting these results, how are you going to handle that with me? What is that going to look like? And you want to hear the coach's response to that.
That is a really good question. I love that because, I mean, a lot of times they're prepared. They have the canned responses, because when you do sales, when you're a service provider doing sales, you get the same questions over and over again, and it kind of triggers these like canned responses in your brain.
Yeah.
But that's not one you get a lot. What are you going to do if it's not working?
Yeah. And the reality is most people don't move forward with coaching, not because they doubt the coach, but because they doubt themselves. Because you've signed up for something in the past and you weren't successful with it. And instead of saying, oh, it was the coach or the training program, it becomes about you. Like, there's something wrong with me. And so having a plan in place from the get-go with that coach, if the coach sees you struggling or you see yourself struggling, how are you two going to handle it, and how's it going to be addressed?
I feel like people are way too comfortable just chalking things up to learning curves when they invested in something they shouldn't, and being like, well, I mean, that happens. We're all going to do that. It's normal. Instead of being like, why did that happen? How can I prevent that from happening in the past? Like any other area of life, you're like, hey, I touched the stove. It burned me. How can I
Yeah.
not get burned again? Right?
Right.
Like, they don't think about it when it comes to these investments, and specifically like coaches, courses, things along those lines. I feel like we're just way too accepting of like, well, there we go.
Yeah. And so coaching and courses are significant investments. And I think that a key question to be asking someone that you're going to invest in is, how are things structured to make sure that I get through the program and stick with it? What have you done to ensure that? Because there are a lot of course creators and coaches out there that just they're great marketers. They get people to sign up for the program, but the delivery on the back end is, well, I delivered the content, but only 25% get through the content. And usually it's less than that. It's like 5 or 10%. So asking, how many people actually finish this? And how do you keep people moving forward through your offering?
Oh, that's been one of my soapboxes for years for like course creators and stuff, especially. It's like
Yeah.
the margin that is acceptable for people that actually complete the training and get the result that you promised when it comes to courses and stuff
Yes.
specifically.
Yes.
It is so low. They're like, oh, well, industry standard is 5% of people complete the course. I
Mm-hmm.
got 6. I must have done
Mm-hmm.
something right. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what? If you were working with that person one on one, if they were sitting in a classroom with you one on one, and only 6% of your students managed to get a
Yeah.
C or above, would you consider that acceptable? No, of course.
No.
So why is it in your course? Like, what can you do? Why are they failing? Pick up
Mm-hmm.
the phone, call, like,
Yes.
do something, reach out, be like,
Yes.
how could I have improved this? Like, can you imagine the impact on somebody's business if they could make a course completion rate even 50% instead of like 5 or 6?
Well, and that's
Like,
you and
there
I
goes
were
no
chatting.
trainers.
You and I were chatting ahead of this, and that's what we've done at Tap the Potential with our How to Hire the Best course. We know we work with really busy business owners, and we had to create a course that they could complete
Yep.
and get through because otherwise it's not serving them. And so, like, we have a badge that people want to be featured in our Great Place to Work spotlight, and they have their move forward action steps, and they're earning points for completing their action steps from week to week. And the other thing is we let people go through the course as many times as they need to earn their badge and collect their action steps. And so we stick in there, we stay with them. We want people to
Yep. And a
succeed.
lot of that can even be automated nowadays. It's like you
Yes.
just have to put the effort into, how am I going to have these extra touch points? Does my
Mm-hmm.
audience need these extra touch points? Where do
Mm-hmm.
they need these touch points at? Where is the fall off? Did I
Mm-hmm.
make this material too complicated? Like, it's not these big, like, it's going to cost you an extra 10 hours a month steps. It's like,
No.
just pay attention and actually care about if somebody gets through it.
Yes.
And it's so, I love that you've done that with your course because that makes a huge difference when somebody who's got a course actually is
Mm-hmm.
paying attention and caring about the completion rate. And that
Mm-hmm.
just has such a big impact. So I love that so
Yeah.
much. And I think that's partially because you are a business psychologist. So you function a
Mm-hmm.
little bit different than like a traditional coach. Can you like speak to
Yes.
that a little bit?
Absolutely. So I became a coach after getting my doctorate in psychology and doing community mental health for 5 years. And I got totally burnt out. And I was in that place of, okay, I cannot do this the rest of my life. I have to do something different. I've invested a lot in my training through the years. And what could I do? And so that's where I learned about coaching. And I thought this is a great way to repurpose my skill set as a psychologist. And instead of working with people who have a lot of severe mental illness, I could work with individuals who are ready to move forward. And so all through the coaching programs that we've created at Tap the Potential, we really weave in the cutting edge research on positive psychology and how people function at their best. What sets us up as individuals to really tap our potential. And that's who I am naturally. Is when I get into a conversation with people, I just want to know what's important to you and how can I support you in making this happen for you? Because every one of us has unique gifts and talents. And when we can work from our strengths and we have results that are clear that we're going towards, we can be amazing in what we create and produce. But when we are not working from our strengths and we're doing all these things that drain our energy, our ability to produce goes down significantly, along with our happiness and well-being. And so we love taking positive psychology and helping business owners learn how to lead effectively and create great places to work where everyone on the team feels happy to go to work, including the business owner. And that comes from creating these safe, supported environments. And so we're using psychology to solve some of the biggest problems for small business owners.
I love that. And I could tell that that was a big part of your person, even like before we hit record. Because as soon as you came on, the very first things you were asking is, it's like, who is your audience? How can I help them? What would you like to communicate today? And it's like,
Yes.
you don't normally see that as a podcast host. Usually your guests are like, okay, let me tell you about why I'm awesome and all the things I'm going to do for people. And it's like they kind of dive straight into all about them, which is cool. That's my
Yeah.
goal as a host, is to make it all about you. That's the point. But you don't normally see that out of a guest coming with that like serving and how do we serve your
Mm-hmm.
audience, how do we serve you mindset. So I could tell that that was just, it was very natural. It was a big
Mm-hmm.
part of who you are.
I'm glad to hear that's
So
coming
I
through.
love
That's
that.
that's very much so. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's something that's really important, I feel like, in a coach, because they really have to trust you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody is putting a lot of, like, you're talking about transforming not just their business, but their relationship with their business, their relationship with their employees, their relationship with themselves
Mm-hmm.
and their own life and how their business is having an impact on that. Like, trust is going to be so crucial. And if you've got somebody who's all about, this is how I work, this is what I consider to be important,
Yeah.
and not what's going to serve you best, like, that's
Well,
not going to
and
work
we
well.
we weave that into how we coach because we want to know your personality type. We use the people map, which is a 4-quadrant personality measure. And so we want to know what's your preferred style of communication. How do you connect best with people? And we try to adjust. And we put people into our small groups based on personality and stage in business, so that there's a good blend, not of all the same personality, but different personalities, because we need to learn. The most successful people in life are able to incorporate the strengths of the people who are least like them. And so learning from people who are different from us and how they see the world helps us be better, especially as business leaders. It helps us have a better appreciation of differences on our team. I know you're big into the neurospicy, and so everyone in your audience has experienced that feeling of I'm different, I'm different than other people. And so when you work on a team where people are willing to adapt based on your differences and appreciate your differences and understand that you have something special that you're delivering, and how do they get all the other stuff out of the way for you so that you can deliver your zone of genius. That's what's really powerful.
Yeah, it is very powerful. It was like when I started talking about the neurospicy thing a little bit more, and it just started opening conversations internally inside with my team. And one
Mm-hmm.
of the things that they even did for me is it's like, let's make an area in ClickUp, which is our project management system. One of the girls on my team was like, I'm just going to go make this area real quick and I'm going to show it to you. So she went and put it together and she was like, this is the Christina support section. This is where when you need help with things that you're trying to get done, you can just put them here. You can just get it out of your
Mm-hmm.
brain as quick as possible. She's like, I've already set us all up to be watchers, so we'll all see it. And one of us can
Mm-hmm.
just hop on it and be like, this is me, I can help her with this one, and tag
Yes.
in and assign it to themselves. And so it's like my team came up with that because it's like, we need to find a way to work with you. And it's like having me hold regular office hours where they can hold me hostage is an important thing too. So they can
Well,
come
and
over to my office and I'm going to be sitting there and it's a safe space to come ask questions or get me to do something or so.
as you talk about that, it's really clear that you feel supported by your team. And that is
Mm-hmm.
the most beautiful experience for when you're on a team, is to feel supported by your team. And so just imagine magnifying that, where everyone on the team has their area where they can list, here's what I'm struggling with. And other team members can look at that and say, oh, I can easily do that. Because the things that we can do easy, those are our strengths. It doesn't take extra energy, but for that other person, it feels like, oh my gosh, this is a huge mountain I have to climb. I'm really
Yep.
struggling with this. And so one of the things that I do in a course that I teach called Leadership Boot Camp, which is for the A players on our clients' teams, and we're really teaching them about leadership, I talk to them about being a gift from their gifts and giving them a secret mission. And every week, their secret mission is to look for a team member who's struggling with something, or a client or customer who's struggling with something, and intentionally take their strength, their gift, and take that off of that person's plate. And it's a beautiful thing when they come back and they talk about how did it feel to do that, because they say, I felt so happy and joyful to make something easier for my team member. So it's that good feeling that you get inside when you get to support your fellow team members. And we
Yep.
call that being a gift from your gifts.
Yep. I actually had somebody on my team today and they're like, I'm so glad that you guys told, the other guy on our team that he could reach out to me when he needed help with something, because he's been doing that and it's been great to be able to help him. Like I just got
Yeah.
that feedback from somebody on my team this morning where she
Yes.
was able to step in and kind of support someone else who was struggling, had a lot on their plate. And so yeah, it's great when you can create that, when you can see it happening. It's part of why I love that we use GatherTown. It's a metaverse space because I can see my team meeting together and working on things. Because I'll see them go into each other's offices, and you can see the little chat bubbles over their heads that they're talking, and then they'll go up and do
Yes.
something else. So it gives
Yes.
you that, as a leader, being able to see that even in a virtual environment when you wouldn't normally. It's like even their personalities, and that was probably the thing that threw me the most when we first started using GatherTown, is everybody has their own personal office space, and they could decorate it. And just seeing the personalities emerge, like as you walk around our office and just getting a sense for who's there, is just so interesting. It was
Yeah,
like, I don't
that's
know, it
really
caught me off
neat
guard.
because virtual work is so hard for people because you lose a lot of that connection, a lot of the cues, the visual cues and social cues that you normally get in a work environment. So it sounds like you've really found a way to address that.
We've been having fun with it. We're even hosting an event every quarter right now that we call Gurus Gather Live. And we just did our first one last month. And the feedback from everybody was like, we didn't have Zoom fatigue. It was a 9-hour event with 16 different
Wow.
speakers. And it's like, we didn't have Zoom fatigue. It was more like conference fatigue, where you had gone to an
Interesting.
in-person conference, and you're running
Yeah,
around all day long and you're just absorbing information. It gave that kind of fatigue, but it was virtual. And they
that's
were
so
able
cool.
to get away because you can walk away from other people and you're no longer on. Like
Yeah,
if you're in an
yeah.
in-person thing, you can step away. You can, like, go to the bathroom, or even just like between conversations when you're moving from one room to the other room, or you have some space to just be like, breathe for a second and then go back.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
interesting what we can do with technology today. And I think exploring some of that to help your team work a little bit better
Yes.
it's been good for us.
Yeah.
We've really liked it. I know a couple other people that have started using Gather with their teams, even if it's just on like a quarterly basis, and it's been
Mm,
fantastic.
mm,
So
neat.
little fun stuff. So speaking of small steps,
Yeah.
what are some small steps that someone can take right now? Like, you're talking about being able to build up their team and kind of do some more stuff with their team. And that's obviously going to start pulling things off of the business owner so that they can actually go out and live their life, have some free time,
Yeah.
be able to breathe, do the things they like
Yeah.
to do. So, like, what are some small steps they can take that would get them moving into that more positive direction?
Yeah, this is such a great question because I think a lot of people in your audience are in that place where they are doing what they're doing because they love it. They have a gift to share. But in order to build a business and to build a following, there's a lot of activity that needs to go on. You got to write blog posts, you have to be on social, there's a lot of administrative stuff. And those things are probably not the things that you enjoy doing. They probably don't give you energy. I know when I started out, I was so excited on my first day leaving my job and getting to go home, and I was officially an entrepreneur. The very first thing I did was sit down and write a blog post. And it was so fun. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm really going to get paid for this. Somebody's going to pay me for this. Not that money showed up right away. It took a little while, but I just was that was like my gift. That's something I really enjoy doing. I love teaching. I love speaking. What I don't love is bookkeeping. I hate email. Oh, such a
Yeah.
drain for me. And so I saw myself get consumed in all the minutia, all the things. And I saw my writing time and my coaching and speaking time just getting eaten up by all the things. And that's what happens as we become more and more successful as business owners. Our businesses grow and they take over our lives. And so at Tap the Potential, one of the things we love to do is we have a chart called the $10,000 an hour activities. And it shows you the difference between a $50 an hour task, $100 an hour task, $1,000, $5,000, and $10,000. Our goal is to get from doing all the $50 an hour tasks in our businesses to where the majority of our time is spent in the $10,000 an hour activities. So for me, being here on a podcast with you is a $10,000 an hour activity because you're introducing me to people who might not have ever encountered me, Christina. And I think that's like the most amazing thing. But if I were too busy doing my email and said, no, I can't take an interview,
Yep.
I've got email overload, I would miss out on this opportunity. And so we want to be taking these $50, $100, even $1,000 an hour activities off our plate. And you can't do it all at once because you've got to grow the revenue in your business. But people love to use this chart to just look at what's on my plate currently that's not my highest value contribution? And who could I find who could take this off of me? And a beautiful thing about virtual work now is you don't have to hire a full-time employee to come take some things off your plate. You can look at specific duties and hire contractors to work in your business on a very limited basis to take these things off your plate and allow you to move up further where you can focus really on your highest value contribution.
Oh, I
And
love that
the
so
other
much.
the other thing that I want to share around small steps, because I know when you're a brand new entrepreneur, I remember the feeling 17 years ago when I left my job and wrote my first blog post. I looked at other entrepreneurs who had books and who were speaking and had their own podcast or whatever. And I thought, I want to be like them. Who do how, and it felt like such a huge mountain to climb. But I wrote one blog post a week and I just committed to that. If I can't get anything else done in the given week, I'm going to get that one blog post out and I consistently put out a newsletter. So pick your one thing that you're going to do that's consistent, that helps you build, like, especially blog posts. My books were written through my blog posts. And I know,
Yep.
Christina, you talk a lot about building your audience as you're writing your book. So putting those blog posts out creates people who are interested in what you have to share. And then when your book comes out, it's like, whoop, look, she's got a book. I want to hear about that.
Yep.
And so I want to encourage your audience, take those small steps forward because they really do lead to huge change in a very short period of time. I wrote my first book within a few years of being out there as a coach. And I would have done it faster, but I had a baby. So that kind of interfered with things. But it is totally doable. And it creates opportunities. I'm here talking with you and getting to connect with your audience because I have a book. And these things that we're doing, even though it feels like, oh, this is a huge mountain to climb, you don't know where these things are going to take you. And so stick with it and keep taking those small steps forward.
Well, and I like some of the stuff that you said too, where it's like as you're starting to grow your team, it's not just about, so like there's all these lists of all these tasks that you can outsource, but what you said was look for the ones that you don't enjoy doing. Because
Yeah.
like we have tons of clients that don't enjoy writing blogs. They outsource that to us. We handle that for them. But then there's
Right.
people like you who love writing the blogs. Like that,
Mm-hmm.
that's a happy thing. Keep your happy
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
It's okay to keep your happy thing.
Yeah. So what I did is I loved writing the blog posts, and then I would obsess about my newsletter that I would put out every week and the format and making it look right and all the details. I got totally lost in that. And so that was one of the first things I hired out. And my virtual assistant, Donna, who's been with me all these years, she was my very first team member that I brought on. I hired her to take that off my plate because I knew I was spending way too much time in the weeds and it wasn't a valuable activity.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's so important, especially when, so one of the cool things that you did was you got the knowledge out of your brain first, and then you let
Mm-hmm.
someone else help you maximize that knowledge. And I
Yes.
think that's like my cautionary tale to people that want to outsource some of their content stuff is it's like, you're the expert. You've put the time and the training and the, man hours into working with people and getting results and doing stuff. Like, you don't need to just be like, I just want to write a blog about this. Will you just go research and write it? Because there are tons of writers that will do that, and it's a terrible
Yeah.
idea.
Yes, because
Like, you have to get
their
it out of you in
voice.
some way.
Yeah, just because someone else can write about a topic doesn't mean that they're going to have your voice and your unique spin and expert contribution. And
Yeah.
I used a ghostwriter to help me write my books, and I had
Yep.
all of the content and the blog posts, and I did ask for help with the research, but the thought leadership came from me because no one else can do that thought leadership.
Yep. And I see so many people try and skip on that and just
Mm-hmm.
hire someone to write content for them. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, don't do that. Please don't do that. Get it out
Yeah.
of your head wherever you need to. Like some
Yeah.
people, it's not their happy place to write. That's
Yeah.
okay. Make a video, make a loom.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be perfect. Nobody else but your writer has to see it. It's okay
Yeah.
if you're uncomfortable on video, but you have to get it out of you in some way. Like we have had to create so many different ways to get that out of people. Everything from like worksheets to sitting down to working with them one on one to have a video ask where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I pre-record questions, so I'm talking to them, but they can do it in their own time. So if 2:30 in
Yes.
the morning is when their brain goes,
Yep.
go sit down. Give me stuff
Yeah.
at 2:30 in the morning. It's okay. You can have a little asynchronous conversation with me that way. Like we
Yes.
just had to make so many different ways because like everybody's brain works differently and you
Yes.
want to make it happy, but they still have to get it out. It has to come
Well,
from them.
and for me, because coaching is one of my happy places, we pulled recordings, not of our client sessions, but of me talking when I was teaching in the coaching sessions, and used some of that for the content of the book. Because for me, when someone asks me a question, this is why I love to do interviews. When you ask me a question, I can just go. But if I don't
Yep.
have that initial question, I'm kind of like, what do I say here? I don't know what's relevant. So everyone has their unique
Yep.
style. And I love how you're tuning into, okay, we're going to figure out multiple ways to pull out the content.
Well, and that style can change, Some days people are like, hey, it's a high energy day. I can do some videos. I can do some meetings. I can run with it. We can make some things happen. Other days, it's like, if I have to people with anybody, no, I'm going back to bed. And like, but I'll take my laptop and I can type some things. And
Yeah.
so that'll be a written day instead of a video day. And it's
Mm-hmm.
cool. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I literally have, and this is so bad, I have literally rescheduled podcasting. You have to give yourself permission to do this sometimes because it was a no people day.
Yeah.
It was like I
Yeah.
woke up that morning and it just couldn't happen. And it was a no people day. And I think you have to give yourself permission to do that.
You're speaking my language, because one of the big things that I educate about is entrepreneurial burnout. And when we're constantly pushing ourselves to hit someone else's standard or some standard we've created in our head, we're going to burn out. And so the best way to prevent that is to be tuned into yourself, just like what you described, and look for ways to do that self-care and continually be checking in with yourself as to, what do I need to be at my best? Because you will not deliver your gifts if you're not at your best.
Yep. Well, this has been absolutely fantastic. I know I've kept you for almost all of our time together. So I want to give our audience a chance to get to know like you and where to find you and what you do and who you help and all that good jazz. So can you tell them
Okay.
more about you and what you do?
Certainly. So our business is Tap the Potential, and we help overworked entrepreneurs who have successful businesses take their lives back from their business. So you can check us out at tapthepotential.com. And you heard me talk about the $10,000 an hour download. You can get that at tapthepotential.com/10K. And I have the Profit by Design podcast. So if you love listening to podcasts, I'm over there every week sharing entrepreneurial knowledge and really looking at keeping it real. Like, this is real life business. And what do we need as entrepreneurs to keep moving forward? And then I have the How to Hire the Best series, which is available on Amazon. So if anyone is struggling to hire and you're not succeeding with it, which that, by the way, if you're struggling, you're not alone. 90% of small business owners struggle with hiring. And that's what I love about the How to Hire the Best book is I've taken what has been taught in the corporate world and I've adapted it to the real life reality of a small business owner who's doing all the things and trying to hire at the same time. So these are just simple things that work. And then the other book that I've written is The 4-Week Vacation. And that is for entrepreneurs who are really wanting to work to that place where they just get to do the fun stuff in the business and the business can run without you being in there every day, which is great for creatives, because if you can get all the other roles on your role chart filled and you get to do your fun stuff, then you can be there or not be there and things continue to happen.
Yeah, well, and that's so important. And I think people are like, I can't imagine my business running without me. What would I do with myself? And so, trust me, you will find something. You
Yes.
will find something to do. You will spend time doing the things you want. It will happen. But it's also really important, I think, because you just don't know what's going to happen to you.
Right.
You could get sick. You could get in a car wreck. You could whatever. And your income goes on hold if you
Yes.
don't grow your business to that point. So I know that's
Yes.
kind of the like scary danger message, but I feel like it wakes people up half a second when they think about that for a minute. And I
It's
mean, you're not going to be in your business forever. Not
no,
forever. You
and
have to plan.
you have to plan. And I've encountered so many experiences in my own life where I needed to be away. Our team members have had this happen. Other colleagues, entrepreneurs I've seen, have devastation in their business because they hadn't set it up to start running without them. And so it may feel like where you are now is a big journey to get to the point of a 4-week vacation and the business can run without you for an extended period. But it really is, it's those small steps forward. So, and it starts with, well, what can I take off my plate? What can I delegate? And the chart of $10,000 an hour activities is a great place to start with that.
Yep. And working with Dr. Sabrina is one way to do that too, because they'll be able to start
Thank you.
taking all those small steps with some guidance in the right direction. So I think
Yes.
that's really smart. I'll make sure we drop links to all of that wherever you are watching this. We put this thing out all over the place. So wherever you are watching this right now, there will be links somewhere near the video, around, up, or down. So thank you again, Dr. Sabrina, for coming on. You have shared some amazing tips that people hopefully will listen to, take to heart, and take some action on.
Absolutely. It's an honor to be here with you, Christina.
All right. Until next time, guys, go build a business that enables your lifestyle instead of taking over your life. Bye.
I love that.